perfect personification of funky musical beats and giving out strong and bold messages, sums up as Rahul Ram. Commonly known as the Logic Baba, Rahul is a bass guitarist, a social activist, and a music composer, ranging his notes from the vast Indian Ocean to the dynamics of Aisi Taisi democracy. Rahul is popularly known for his environmental activism, especially his participation in the Narmada Bachao Andolon. Let us discover what he has to say on art, protest music, and the recent socio-political developments in the nation. Here we present to you On Record with Rahul Ram. First of all, can you tell us about your journey, or you can say venture, into the field of music? Was it pre-planned?
Not at all. It wasn't pre-planned at all. I used to be able to sing, so I used to sing in college. Then I started playing guitar. I learned guitar after class 8, I think in the school holidays after class 8, I learned the guitar. I persuaded my parents to buy me one. And then I had a lot of, I was in St. Xavier School, and a lot of guitar playing, a lot of music in the school. So then I joined a band when I was in class 9, and they told me to bass guitar baja. And मुझे कुछ नहीं मालूम था. मैंने पूछा कि bass guitar क्या होता है? तो फिर उन्होंने कहा bass guitar ये होता है. तो मैंने अच्छा. So I actually played my first show on the bass strings of an electric guitar because I didn't own a bass guitar. And then I bought my first bass guitar from a guy who used to come and teach. In fact, so we had a teacher in school who at that time, a great bass player, used to be a teacher at SRCC. और आज वो JNU में प्रोफेसर है, मनोज पंत. तो उन्होंने मेरे को बेस बजाना का बेसिक सिखाया. But I learned a lot with my friends. I mean, one learns from one's contemporaries, I think, probably better than one learns from teachers, because you can argue with them. And you can be more informal, and they can abuse you and you can abuse them. Abhi kya kar raha hai yaar? That kind of stuff. And so I started doing that. And then when I was in college, in DU, I played with 3 different bands, in addition to playing with a college band and playing for 2 musicals. So full of music. My life was absolutely chock-a-block with music during my college days. Then I went away to IIT to do my masters, jahan pe ye sab kuch nahi tha. So I played with the IIT. उन दिनों में पता है क्या, एक Western music band और एक Indian music band होगा. So I played with both of those. Then I went away to Cornell to do my PhD. And वहाँ पे तो बिल्कुल ही रुक गया मेरा playing. I bought a guitar, of course, within 6 months. But that was just to play at home with friends at parties and things. No bass playing, no band, no nothing. But I heard a lot of music from all over the world. Because, imagine back, this is 1986, I went to Cornell. There was no internet. I know it's difficult for you guys, but there was no internet.
Can you explain and highlight your venture into the Narmada Bachao Andolon?
Oh, Narmada Bachao Andolon में मैं घुसा हूँ क्योंकि उस टाइम जो मेरी बीवी ने अपना PhD, she joined Cornell also. In fact, now she's a prof at Ashoka, and she used to be teaching in D school earlier, and she's a Miranda House graduate. And she was doing her PhD on the Narmada Bachao and looking at the alternative vision of development that the Andolon was talking about. Development that is not destructive, development that helps the poor and is not a trickle-down thing, and so on and so forth. So she joined, and I kind of joined by default. I came back in 1990 with no job, unemployed postgraduate. And then one of my friends who was volunteering with the Narmada Andolon said, listen, we have some work for you to do with the Andolon, to join करेगा? तो मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं कर रहा था उन दिनों में, तो मैंने कर लिया join, और बहुत मजा आया. I mean, it transformed my life completely, because I went from being largely urban person to spending a lot more time in villages. First time ever in a tribal area. First time spending substantial amounts of time in rural India and learning a lot. और आंदोलन था ना यार, आंदोलन था तो पुलिस, jail, वेल, ये वो, practical politics, knowing how the state reacts to people. And as BU students, you would know how the state responds to people who do not seem to agree with them, as the Delhi riots would have shown you 2 years ago. कि कितना कुछ हो सकता है और कितना कुछ स्टूडेंट्स करते हैं और कर भी सकते हैं. और You have to learn what the state can do to you, and then you have to learn to not be scared.
Talking about environmentalism, how did you fit that dynamic into the fields of music or art per se?
Yeah, I didn't explicitly do anything of the sort. But the music I heard during the Andolan days definitely influenced some of the things that Indian Ocean did. And the beautiful part about Indian Ocean is that we were all bringing our different life experiences into the music the band did. You know, so if it was good music, it was good music. And I really got a lot into folk and then the voice of resistance. So it's not so much environment as I would say social justice and environment, that combination. And yes, because I was an environmentalist, I always considered myself to be an environmentalist. Environmental issues and what is development doing to the environment? How come the poor people always face the brunt of environmental degradation? Why is there no thought given to this? Why does modern economics call environmental destruction due to development and externality, as if it's external, or we are all paying the price for it today? If you guys have just seen the latest IPCC report, it says ki boss, or I feel bad for you guys because मैं तो मर जाऊंगा बाबू, तुम लोग तुम्हें भुगतना पड़ेगा कि किसी दिन 50 डिग्री और किसी दिन घमासान बारिश, और मतलब इतना मैं बता दूं कि सर्दियां कम हो जाए, ऑलरेडी हो चुकी हैं. But so it is really, I think, climate change arising out of a blind consumption development model is going to be our biggest challenge and going to be your biggest challenge. हमने तो नष्ट कर दिया आपके लिए, हमारे जनरेशन में, और आपके हाथ में छोड़ जा रहे हैं कि भैया आप तुम भुगत लो, हम तो चले. That, and I feel it's something that all of us need to keep in mind.
So talking about the contemporary times, is it in a good tangent or in a bad tangent as compared to the 90s, the activism in 90s?
Wow. How political do you want me to get?
As much as you can get.
So तेरा DU beat बंद हो जाएगा बाबू.
Yes, sir, you may.
सच बता रहा हूँ. So the repression is much. एक तो 90s में ये सब नहीं था ना, WhatsApp, Twitter इत्यादि. IT सेल नहीं था बीजेपी का. To specifically troll and get after anybody who dares to speak up against what they may determine is not good. So that puts a bit of a dampener on. Then किसी भी चीज कुछ भी कह दो तो sedition है, कुछ भी कह दो तो UAPA है. तो अब UAPA is a nasty law. You can just get put away. It's a bit like that TADA करके एक law होता था पहले, Terrorist Activities Disruption Act, and something like that. So it's been used way more than it was used earlier. It's been used to suppress dissent, and activists have a tougher time now than they did earlier. Activists के आप तो judges को भी मार रहे हैं, जैसे आपने देख लिया.
Yes.
अगर कोई judge कुछ कह रहा है तो उसी को उड़ा देते हैं, and कोई कुछ नहीं बोल सकता. और again, I'll bring up Delhi riots. I'm sure DU students participated in Shaheen Bagh and so on and so forth, and could see the way the state responded to what they were doing. And but what is amazing is that young people continue to have that will and that strength to fight. And that's the one bright spot I see. That young people are still not willing to lie down and have it all dictated to them. Some young, of course, there are some young people who are on the other side trolling, and especially when it comes to women. I have a lot of women journalist friends, and I see what rubbish gets put up on their walls and what they have to deal with. And the strength that these women have shown is awesome. And I can imagine कि घर पे क्या बोला जाता है कि बेटा मत करो, बेटा dangerous है, ऐसे बोला जाता है. But मैं क्या कहूँगा यार, मैं तो सिर्फ ये कर दूँगा, लड़ते रहो, बोल ही नहीं सकता.
So you mentioned the ruling party like quite a lot of time. So how do you judge the progress of democracy, like the word democracy and the idols behind it, since the year 2014, landmarking the victory of Narendra Modi-led BJP?
यार इतने बहुमत के साथ आए थे, ऐसा लगा था कि शायद कुछ अच्छा हो जाए. मुझे नहीं लगा था. But I always say that if somebody wants to become the leader of a country, they possibly somewhere inside them genuinely have the well-being of the country in mind and are willing to do things for the country. But unfortunately, this doesn't seem to be the case. A lot of steps taken, for example, demonetization was ostensibly done to wipe out black money. Any economist could have told our revered great leader that it's a disaster. But the revered great leader has fascistic tendencies and decides to not listen to anything and can never admit to having made a mistake. So even today, they are forced to say demonetization was a masterstroke. You know, when the evidence is staring you in the face, to continue to say, no, everything is beautiful. Achhe din, sab changa si.
Multiple phrases, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's not a very good sign. It's not a very good sign. And for somebody, it's a big ego, cannot tolerate dissent, cannot tolerate disagreement either. So what happens is that you start surrounding yourself with yes men and goons. And that's bad for anybody. You know, I mean, you may be the greatest political leader ever, but you cannot be an expert in everything, na yaar. नहीं हो सकते ना, तो experts की बात सुनो ना, ये hard work, not Harvard, ये सब, this is stupidity. And then you betray yourself by saying, 2AB, I mean, you know, I mean, it's like, what rubbish are you talking, man? बकवास बंद करना छोड़ो. And then उल्टी साइड पे वो क्या है, कांग्रेस वाला यार, राहुल गांधी को पप्पू बोलते हो तुम कि उसने ये चीजें कर दी. पप्पू से ज्यादा एग्रीगियस गलतियां तो ये हमारे ग्रेट लीडर करते हैं. तो डेमोक्रेसी की सही में ऐसी की तैसी हो चुकी. वैसे ही कुछ खास नहीं था. मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं कांग्रेस बहुत अच्छी चीज थी या पहले सब कुछ ठीक ठाक था, ऐसा कुछ भी कतई नहीं है. But the rate at which dissent is being suppressed is quite something. It's gone beyond the emergency time, which you guys have no idea about. But the emergency time also saw a similar push against dissent of all sorts. Again, saw the concentration of power in the hands of one person. Again, saw violence. Again, saw all these things. But here now it's being done on a much larger scale and with the active help of modern day media. यार, if people use what weapons there are at hand. उन दिनों में नहीं था, आज है. And BJP has been amazingly good at being the first mover on this, you know, using social media and using it very well. And I think people need to learn. It's good to learn when somebody's done something well. You need to learn the tactics they've used, because that's how we will all hope to level the playing field. But yes, definitely democracy. Yeah, democracy, not in a very.
Speaking about, you gave a catchphrase, democracy की ऐसी तैसी हो चुकी है. You know where I'm going now. Your famous gig, Aisi Taisi Democracy, is kind of a perfect example of political satire and you can say protest music. So do you feel that it was successful in giving out that message?
How does one measure the success? What is the measure? What is the yardstick you would use? Sometimes I feel that we are talking to an echo chamber. But at other times, I've been surprised. Some of the songs we've done, see what works best are the songs. For this, if you come and see a show, you'll love the whole thing. But songs are the easiest thing to put out and then फिर WhatsApp पे viral हो जाता है और सब लोग सुन लेते हैं. तो अजीब से लोग अजीब जगहों में मुझे कहते हैं कि करते रहो सर, मजा आ रहा है. तो जैसे मैं कहीं गया था यार, कोई इंडिया टुडे कॉन्क्लेव में या कुछ, तो इधर राष्ट्रपति का naval aide took me aside and said, you know, I think you guys are doing a great job. Just keep doing it. I've had generals in the army tell me that, you know, you guys are saying stuff we can't say. I've had security guards at the Shillong NH7 festival say, वो वाला गाना तो बहुत अच्छा था सर, बहुत मजा आया. I have friends who are in the BJP who say कि यार अगला गाना बनेगा जरूर हमको पहले भेजना.
That's a yardstick, sir, according to me. The BJP guy is praising you.
It's not praise. You see, they know. Unfortunately, they know, but they're stuck. They're in a party, and the party has a leader. And it's like Trump. Republicans had to back him, no matter what. That's the price of politics. So I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying that it shows that the rot is deeper than one thinks. And the appreciation is there for as democracy to continue doing it. बट मैं सच बताऊं, आप लोगों को, जब आप लोग कह रहा हूं मैं कि जब डीयू के स्टूडेंट्स पे जब राइट्स के बाद ये जेएनयू के बच्चों को ये सब हुआ, तो हमारे मैनेजर ने ही हमको कहा कि भाइयों थोड़ी देर तक चुप रहोगे। तो हमने कहा क्यों? तो सर देखो, आपको अगले 5 साल जेल में बिताने। हमने कहा नहीं। तो सर फिलहाल चुप हो जाओ। दिस इज बिफोर द पैंडेमिक।
Okay.
This is just after we had done a tour, and so I guess February, March, and we wanted to do a song on police atrocity. And this was just after that Dubey was killed, no? because
Because to pay.
विकास की मौत हो गई हमारे देश में। In an encounter which I've heard an ex-cop talk about it, and he said, itna ham-handed only shows that कितने बदतमीज बन चुके हैं, कि they don't care if the whole world knows that this is an implausible lie, that a guy in handcuffs has managed to clamber out. How a handcuffed man can clamber, open a door against gravity? ऐसे होगी थी ना गाड़ी।
Yes, sir.
इस दरवाजे को खोल के निकला है हथकड़ी में, फिर भागा है 150 मीटर दूर और फिर गोली मार के मारा। आहा, क्या वो कितनी सुंदर सी कहानी बनाई, वाह। तो guess what song we guess some Hindi film song that you would use to describe.
Like the Vikas Dubey situation. I am not very good at it, but I'll give it a try.
Okay.
Maybe तुमने बुलाया मैं चली आई, something like that.
नहीं direct है, it is गोली मार भेजे में।
Okay, that was
भेजा शोर करता है जम के पेल स्टूडेंट को, स्टूडेंट ज्यादा पढ़ता है, विकास की कहेगा तो मारेगा मामू, इत्यादि। किताब की कहेगा तो मारेगा मामू, मामू दरोगा मामू। So that's what we did.
As we are talking about your songs, like your fantastic beats and songs, so naturally I'm a history student and I quite liked your history song कि हम history के ले लेंगे. So recently, there were some major changes in the history curriculum of the UG students. So what are your views on this?
देखो, ये हिस्ट्री बेचारा एक ऐसा जानवर है जो हमेशा पॉलिटिकल रहा, ठीक है। अब आजकल लोग कहते हैं कि क्योंकि इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद कांग्रेस पार्टी पावर में थी इतने साल, उन्होंने हिस्ट्री रीराइट की टू सूट देमसेल्व्स। ये जो है कि अंग्रेजों के टट्टू थे इसलिए ऐसी हिस्ट्री की। यार अंग्रेज के टट्टू कौन थे वो तो सबको मालूम। So to claim that, or to claim that they are Muslim apologists. I mean, the Mughals 500 years ago, or they say, why did we learn so much about Mughal history? Because it's all around. I mean, you learn more about what happened in the last 200 years, less about what happened before that. As the data gets sparser, as the sources get sparser, as the living memories fade, as पहले तो अब एंशिएंट इंडिया हमको भी पढ़ा है, एंशिएंट इंडिया, फिर मिडिवल इंडिया, फिर मॉडर्न इंडिया पढ़ा है हमको। हमारा तो ये था स्कूल में। आप लोग तो ऑब्वियसली कहीं ज्यादा करते हो जब कॉलेज में करते हो। तो मुझे नहीं लगा था कि nowadays it's very common to have these WhatsApp forwards saying these are the glories of India that were never taught to us in our schools. I'm like, which school did you go to? Well, I was taught about the Chola dynasty, Cholan, Cheran, Pallavan, विजयनगर। हमको तो होस्लियास, हमको तो सब पढ़ाया था यार, तुम्हें नहीं पढ़ाया होगा यार। ये बात सही है कि अहोम किंग्स के बारे में we didn't learn enough, for example, or that certain, like there's this whole controversy going on about Aryan कौन थे टाइप।
Yes, sir.
ये हिस्ट्री नहीं है, अब ये आर्कियोलॉजी होगी, और ये अब डीएनए होगी। बट उसमें भी है ना कि कहना है कि ये I don't understand the need to say we were the best. My papa's strongest. भूल जाओ यार, बड़े हो जाओ यार। अगर तुम्हारा पापा स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट ठीक है, तो फिर क्या हुआ? हमारे पास सब कुछ था वेदों में, तो तुम इतने गधे हो कि तुम्हारे पास सब कुछ था और ले गए लोग तुमसे। हुआ क्या ये तो बताओ। Nobody explains how that Ram Rajya degenerated. Because allegedly Ram Rajya तो 5,000 साल पहले, मुसलमान तो थे ही नहीं 1,400 साल पहले तक. तो बीच में क्या हुआ? आप ही ने अपने आप को किया होगा बाबू. ये लॉजिक काम नहीं करता अनफॉर्चुनेटली. Logic doesn't work. You cannot fight faith with logic. You know, that's what I've learned. I'm a scientist. You can't fight. For example, I give bad analogies, but this anti-vaxxers campaign, people who don't want to take the COVID vaccine, there's no logic there.
Yeah.
सबको लगे हैं वैक्सीन बचपन में, नहीं तो मरे हुए होते आज. They would be dead. उनके पेरेंट्स ने उनको लगवा दिया वैक्सीन. बीसीजी का, इसका, उसका, टेटनस का, सब कुछ लगा. भाई तेरी हार्ट कटती थी, तू टेटनस की शॉट क्यों लगाता था? मत लगा, भगवान बचा लेगा तेरे को.
So, talking about political satire and protest music, it has transformed from ages, be it Bob Dylan or the recent gully rappers of India. So, can it, counter the fake propaganda in the recent times, like you talked about?
Music is never the defining thing, nor is it neither necessary nor sufficient. It is great to have songs. It's great because it gives people a shared sense of fighting something. And it helps cohesion, but that's about it. Music does not make revolution. Though I'll tell you one very funny incident. The only time an Aisi democracy show was stopped, was not because of these reasons. But we have a section which talks about, in our live show, hypocrisy in Indian society about sex. तो हम उसके बारे में बात कर रहे थे. और at a college in Allahabad, 1800 बच्चे थे ऑडियंस में, कुछ जिसमें से 50 लड़कियां थी. टेक्निकल कॉलेज है. The assistant, whatever, director came and switched off the mic, saying that लड़कियों के सामने आप ऐसी बातें नहीं कर सकते. We just went to prove our point कि hypocrisy कितना है सेक्स के बारे में. I don't see music as catharsis. I see music as joy. मुझे तो मजा आता. मैं अपने गुस्सा को और म्यूजिक में निकालूंगा नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है मेरे लिए म्यूजिक. It's never angry. My music is not angry. Our music, say Indian Ocean music, is never angry. It's more contemplative. It's more, and Aisi music is satirical. The lyrics. See, Aisi में काफी हमारे गाने जो हैं वो हिंदी फिल्मी गानों के व्यंगिक वर्जन्स हैं, और कुछ हमने खुद अपने ट्यून बनाए. जैसे वो हिस्ट्री वाला गाना.
Yes, sir.
That's no existing song. That's a song I made up the tune. We wrote around it. And to me, I have fun making the song. I have fun seeing the lyrics. Varun and Sanjay and I sit together and write. I enjoy it. I enjoy it's intelligent lyrics, I will say. I may sound boastful, but I'm saying that we are putting things in an intelligent fashion, which has to be funny at the same time. So it's not anger or anything for me. It's really, it's fun, it's joy.
Would you like to comment upon the recent misadventures of the government? Matlab more recent, like the pandemic crisis, the migrant mismanagement, or the most recent one, the Pegasus fiasco?
Pegasus, all these guys are busy saying everybody spies. Yeah, everybody spies. पर हमने नहीं किया. नहीं, वो बोला नहीं अभी तक कि हमने नहीं किया. पर मेरे को जैसे लगता है कि ये सरकार झूठ पे झूठ बोलती है, कोर्ट्स को भी और पब्लिक को भी, और हम लोग चुपचाप सुन लेते हैं, और उनके सपोर्टर हमेशा कोई ना कोई कारण निकाल लेंगे. या वर्स्ट कम्स टू वर्स्ट, दे विल से कांग्रेस ने नहीं किया था. दैट्स द थिंग. कांग्रेस ने किया था तो इट इज ओके कि हम भी कर सकते हैं, बट वी आर बेटर देन द कांग्रेस. दैट इज द range of arguments you get. like I have a friend who is a mad Modi supporter, and we were talking about Pegasus just 3 days ago, and he says, डोकलाम के बीच में राहुल गांधी चाइनीज एम्बेसी गया था. Yes, okay. तो उस पे पेगासस क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए? Yes, okay. तो बताओ ना कि किया है. करोगे भी और फटेगी भी कि कहने को कि हमने किया है. कर ले भाई, खुलेआम तो कर. सो दे मान रहे हैं कि कर लिया है, उनके सपोर्टर भी मान रहे हैं, पर सरकार नहीं बोलेगी. अब जैसे देखो, ये क्या है, अटॉर्नी जनरल, क्या है उसका नाम, वेणुगोपाल या ऐसा कुछ है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने उसने क्या था, अप्रैल या first week of the pandemic started for us in March, right?
Last week of March
2020, right? And the migrants were streaming out, and this man stands up in Supreme Court and says, sir, there are no migrants on the roads. Now, why doesn't the Supreme Court say, you lied to us, you bugger? You have lied to the Supreme Court. Come, we are putting a case on you. क्यों नहीं कहता? ये बार बार झूठ बोल बोल के they get away with it. Why? और सपोर्टर क्या कहते हैं? Public's fault. Everything good is great leaders' grace. Everything bad is public's fault. You remember Tabligis?
Yeah, yes sir.
And you remember Kumbh?
Yes sir, obviously.
इससे बड़ा इलस्ट्रेशन हो ही नहीं सकता कि बाबू कितने लोग थे यार उस तबलीगी जमात की मीटिंग. कितने? 500, 1000. तेरे कुंभ में कितने?
Much more than that.
कितने लाख? 70 लाख. और तू कह रहा कुछ नहीं. और अब पता चल रहा है कि जो कंपनी को टेस्टिंग दिया था वो कंपनी ने कभी टेस्टिंग नहीं किया है, और उस कंपनी ने झूठे टेस्ट रिजल्ट डाले हैं बाजार में, और आप चुप हैं और कह रहे पब्लिक के फॉल्ट. रैलियों पे जाके कहते हो इतने सारे लोग कभी नहीं देखा. क्यों भाई? कुछ तो असर पड़ा. पता है जवाब क्या मिलता है सपोर्टर से? महाराष्ट्र में इतने ज्यादा केस हैं, महाराष्ट्र में रैली थोड़ा हुई थी. दैट्स द आंसर यू गेट. कहाँ लोग क्या मर रहे हैं सड़कों पे? कहाँ एक्चुअली हाँ मर रहे हैं. नहीं ये जल समाधि वो जो गंगा में. It's ridiculous the extent to which you can bend over backwards to kiss somebody's ass when the reality is staring you in the face that it was horribly mismanaged. You were overconfident. You were lucky the first time around, I think. And if you've been following what the Hindu has been doing on the numbers from the central death register, I think you'll find this Modi supporter friend actually told me. So the reason I have friends from across the spectrum is because everybody has interesting things in their own. He told me, पता यार death register में ना आ जाएंगे deaths, क्योंकि लोगों को चाहिए होते हैं ना यार death certificate, property, पैसा, ये वो, death certificate चाहिए होता है. तो death तो register हो गए, पर COVID death नहीं थी. So if you go by what this is indicating, it means that we have possibly lost 8 times the number of people to COVID in deaths, and probably 10 to 15 times the number of cases. That is truly horrendous. सब जगह पोस्टर लगाए यूपी नंबर 1, यूपी smartest state, UP best state, performing state in the country. So the thing is that when you get used to lying, you think that you can lie your way out of everything. तो बोल देंगे ना कुछ झूठ. अमित शाह ने जाके बोल दिया है भाषण में कि बेस्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेड स्टेट इन द कंट्री इज यूपी. फिर लोग यूपी के ही लोग हंस हंस के मर रहे हैं.
In the end, do you have any message for our audience as an artist and as a citizen of a nation?
भाई सिटीजन के हिसाब से तो मैं कहूंगा कि भैया लड़ते रहो, क्योंकि हमारी स्थिति अभी इकोनॉमी वापस नहीं आया है, और आप लोग यंग हो और आप लोग वेरी सून नौकरियां ढूंढते. नौकरियां नहीं है. Sorry, I just can't resist doing this. Do you know the government has stopped measuring unemployment data for the last 4 years?
Yes, sir. I read a story in the Indian Express.
Why? Because it's bad data, right? And now we are left with the Center for the Monitoring of the Indian Economy, CMI, which is an independent non-government body to rely on their data because the government has stopped taking data. I have a friend in the Niti Aayog. I have friends everywhere. I have a friend in the Niti Aayog and I asked him, "Ki bhaiya kya hai?" So no, we are working out a more efficient system. मैंने कहा तब तक आप किस बेसिस पे पॉलिसी बना ये तो बताओ. या पैंडेमिक में तुम्हारे 25 मिलियन नौकरियां चली गई, आपके पास तो इसका भी मेजर नहीं है क्योंकि आप तो कहते हो हमने तो मेजर नहीं किया. तो आप जो बूस्टर पैकेज वैकेज जो कर रहे हो किस बेसिस पे कर रहे हो? आपके हिसाब से तो कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. आप मेजर नहीं कर रहे हो क्योंकि हम बेटर सिस्टम बना. आपने पूरे जीडीपी सीरीज को 2 बार रिकैलकुलेट किया till it got showed that you perform better. You know, sorry, this is not a message. Okay, now I'll give message. Please, you can edit all that. Okay, the message is,
Okay.
Yeah, as students, you guys have to continue to fight for what you think is right, and have to unfortunately go through a tough time in the next few years. But you're young and you're strong, and together you should do it. And the third thing is, please take global warming very seriously. And the fourth thing is, have fun. Music suno, party karo. So everything cannot be gloom and doom because without fun, there is nothing.